Hello and welcome once again to Crazy Comics and Stories. It's your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. And at the other end of the series of tubes and wires that we've got that we call the internets is Joe, Crazy Writer. How you doing today, Joe?
You know, I'm upset. I don't know if you've noticed, but poor Jamie Lee Curtis is being stalked by Mike Myers. We've got to tell Mike Myers to leave Jamie Lee Curtis alone. Send your letters to Mike Myers, Untitled Entertainment, 350 South Beverly Drive, Suite 200, Beverly Hills, California, 90212, and tell him to go back to making Shrek and Love Guru and all those other fun things and leave Jamie Lee Curtis alone.
Now, they've changed this in continuity.
They have.
But you remember in the second Halloween movie, we find out that Michael Myers is Laurie Strode's brother. So his name should be Michael Strode. So when my wife was asking, what should we name our son? My first suggestion was, of course, Bruce Wayne Strode. This was 1988, before the Batman movie. She said, absolutely not.
Not even Clark Kent?
So I said, well, how about Michael? She was fine with that.
I don't know why you're laughing. He's the one who's going to stalk you.
Oh, no. He didn't kill his parents. Remember, he killed his older sister, I think it was. I don't remember.
It's been a while.
Why was I able to do that? Because she'd never seen Halloween.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe.
Joe.
She never played D&D. You could have called him Berserker.
Ooh. Or, well, Clerks wasn't out yet.
Yeah, that's true. But that's not what we're here to talk about, naming our kids weird names like Spider for Spider Rider, or why, if I had a son, we probably wouldn't name him Peter.
I don't know. Anyway, we got previews, Joe.
Yay!
And we got it early this month.
Interactive previews. So you got three things to use, or the digital equivalent. The previews for October 23, which is number 421, the DC Connect number 41, or the Marvel free previews number 25. And I gotta say,
and Image Catalog number 4, and Next Phase number 22.
Never last.
Actually, Next Phase will probably be around as long as Lunar Distribution is around.
Yeah. So, well, Cory, go ahead. Let's start out like we're bound to do. Tell us what's on the cover of this here previews.
On the comic book side cover, we have a new series. Actually, it's a mini-series from Boom, written by Tom King, drawn by Peter Gross, local Minnesota boy. Animal Pound, where they just say it's the graphic storytelling event of the year.
And it's here.
On the spine are action figures for the Netflix movie that isn't out yet, Rebel Moon. And then on the back is a comic from Titan, the new supernatural thriller from Jae-Hong Lee, Guma, the beginning of Her. Urban fantasy laced with horror and noir, brought to incredible light by Ji-Hung's phenomenal artwork. Now, this at least tells me a little about the book. Animal Pound tells me nothing. It's almost as if without Marvel and DC, nobody knows what to do with an ad.
I don't know. I think people look at it like Tom King, Peter Gross. So trying to catch the people who are interested by the name.
Yeah.
But remember last month they also had the big previews or the Ashcan, or whatever the hell they called it. So if you're interested in it, you would probably know about it already. I think they might be going for cat lovers, though.
Except, it's a cat. It looks like prison bars and then blood on the prison bars.
Maybe they should put Taylor Hicks on the cover.
We already talked about that.
Oh, yeah, I know. But she didn't show up for the game this weekend, and we're pretty disappointed.
Well, not only did she not show up for the game, Joe, I know nothing about these people. I know that the Travis Kelce had his birthday party, and she was not there.
Yep.
So
that didn't stop them from beating the Vikings, though.
Nothing
Kansas
stops
City is 4-1, and Vikings are 1-4. So there is
nothing stops everybody from beating the Vikings this year. The only team worse than the Vikings this year are the Chicago Bears, which is frightening. I watched a Bears game. It was sad. If I were a Bears fan, I would find another sport.
I don't watch anything.
So, shall we start with Marvel?
Yes. So I will grab the Marvel catalog. Now, Cory didn't get his Marvel catalog, so he's going to have to go digital. I don't know. Do they do it alphabetically, or is it kind of page for page on this one?
It is a page for page. Basically,
good.
If you sign up, through, I think it's called June Mag, when it goes to the printer, you get a copy of what goes to the printer.
Cool. Well, right away off on page 2 is Timeless, number 1. Every year, Marvel pops out a Timeless, which is kind of a preview to what's coming up in the upcoming year. And I've enjoyed them because a lot of times it gets me interested in kind of like, oh, what's going on? I also like picking them out from the previous year so that I can read and see what actually happened. And it's basically Behold the Future of Marvel Comics, featuring the debut of 2 new Marvel icons. Who are they? Well, you have to pick up Timeless to find out. And there's, of course, a lot of different covers. Nightmare cover, Ron Lim cover. How'd you say it? Inyukli. Couple spoiler variants, a wraparound variants. So this is always one to pick up just because it's fun. Get a shocking glimpse into next year's Marvel stories, as well as what could be the ongoing theme through the rest of the year. Like I said, I haven't read this year's. It'd be interesting to go back and read it and just see, is this true? Is this actually a foreshadowing of fun stuff coming up, or is it just a quick power grab for,
Last year's sort of set up the story that's going on in the Avengers right now, which is there was a moment in time that Kang could not access.
So they had to finish the previous Avengers to get to the current one. That's kind of cool. I like that.
This one's a little weird to me in that the 2 writers, Colin Kennedy and Jackson Lansing, I haven't heard of.
It could be an editorial-driven thing.
It usually is, where they take everybody's... Because what Marvel does, they have a writer's summit every year. And in it, they sort of plan out the next 5 years. And then the next year, they come back and they have another writer's summit and they adjust the plan because they plan for the next 5 years, and so on and so on and so on. So this is very much a editorial, gives them this stuff. They write a story around it. In the past, it's usually been Marvel's A-list writer who does this. I think it's interesting that they're giving it to 2 writers who I really don't know. Maybe they have sent in really good pitches for the stuff they're doing.
Maybe they need to give us a call. We'll put them on this here podcast.
Yeah,
we're open that way.
Yes, we are.
I'm just saying, So I do kind of like that Alex Ross cover. So I will probably be
that
going
Alex
for that.
Ross cover better be a poster soon.
Yeah, that is really killer. So what do you got for Marvel? What's next for you?
Next up is the new Moon Knight series because Moon Knight dies in issue 30, but the
Yep.
creative team starts with Vengeance of the Moon Knight, issue 1, the same month. Thankfully, with Moon Knight, death and resurrection is a part of the character, and I'm glad that it wasn't he's dead and we have to wait and wait and wait for them to say, okay, he's coming back. It's part of the story. Boom. The next chapter of Moon Knight starts here as the congregants of the Midnight Mission pick up the pieces and carry on the mission, find themselves faced with a mysterious new enemy that is in eerily familiar vestments. I like the new design of Moon Knight as well on that cover. That's really cool. We're also going to get a Rest in Peace Moon Knight cover by Greg Capullo for Moon Knight number 30. What else was next here? Gang War is still going on in a whole bunch of Spider-Man books.
I'll pass. My next one ain't up till page 38. I'm looking at Spider-Gwen Smash, 4-issue miniseries. Time to face the music. The Mary Janes are off on a 4-city tour as the opening act to one of Earth's 65's biggest rock bands. Gwen has promised the band that their big break will be all about the music. No web slinging, no drums, or just drums, I should say. But when a mysterious assassin targets the headliner, Gwen begins to wonder how she got this gig in the first place. Featuring new versions of some of your favorite characters. 4-issue series going on here.
Well, on page 36, we talked about it a little in previous episodes. Giant Size Superstars #1 Facsimile Edition. This is a reprint of the first Giant Size comic. And why was it Giant Size Superstars? Well, it was Giant Size Superstars, and then they did Giant Size Fantastic Four because they thought that this would be a rotating series. It wasn't.
What? No.
It's Thing and the Hulk, the wildest Thing versus Hulk battle of them all. Like all the best bouts, this one takes place in the ring at Madison Square Garden. It's Bruce Banner's incredible alter ego. It's bashful Benjamin J. Grimm, but there's a twist you won't believe. And the formidable warrior Thundra is on hand to tag in. Will it be clobber in time for the Hulk, or will the ever-loving Thing get smashed? Reprints the original form, ads and all. Also on that page, is a new Marvel Tales, Joe.
Yep.
ROM 17 and 18, and then ROM 31 and 32. So it's 4 issues of ROM. This is ROM and the X-Men. So it reprints all the X-Men stories from ROM. 104 pages, $7.99. I love these Marvel Tales. They're like a cheap trade paperback.
Oh, yeah. And then the last two are basically they're fighting Mystique's villainous mutant team, her version of the evil mutants.
And then where else do we go?
Next, I've got on page 53 the original X-Men. Looks like a one-shot where Cyclops, Marvel Girl, Beast, Iceman, and Angel, the first and greatest heroes to bear the X-Men name, they once traveled into their own future and reset the course of history. Now another multiversal mystery calls them forth. When the dust settles, one hero will remain trapped in the world as we know it. And this is a one-shot, so it'll be interesting to see do we want to take a bet as to who will be left in the modern Marvel, if I'm reading this correctly. I will bet maybe Beast, just because the current Beast is an asshole and will probably need to die. It could be anybody. I mean, Jean Grey's dead. Yeah. Greg Land doing the art by this one, so this ought to be really hot. And of course, various variant covers to satiate the most subtle and gross.
We've got a reprint of Wolverine #1. No, not
reprint.
that one.
Yeah, a reprint.
This is the mini series that was drawn by Frank Miller and inked by Joseph Rubinstein. And heavily inked by Joseph Rubinstein, if you want the truth. The one reason I might pick this up, foil variant cover.
Foil. Oh, you're in the foils.
I feel bad.
You should.
For my whole life, I've been, these stupid variant covers. I'll just buy the regular book. But I bought that Batman #1 with the foil variant, and it was so cool looking. It was so cool looking. They would have done covers like that back then. Yeah. Well, they did, but then they had holograms and all the other stupid bullshit. And I was actually talking to someone last night, and they said, well, talking to someone about comics, and I talked about how eventually the Fantastic Four got to the point where I couldn't buy it anymore because it was so bad. They said, well, what finally chased you off? And I said, it was the year they did a special cover every 3 issues. Every 3rd issue was a hologram or a die cut something, and it was just, why am I paying extra for a book I don't like? But man, these foil variants they're doing now are super cool.
I don't have anything until the omnibuses, so I told you it was a short month for me.
Yeah, I feel so dirty.
You should. I want you to look at all your foils and go, instead of going gold, go, oh, shiny.
Joe, you like Timeless. What about Star Wars Revelations #1? By Mark Guggenheim, Charles Soule, Greg Pak, Mark Fernandin, Kevin Scott, Salvador LaRocca, Will Slaney, etc., etc. This is the Star Wars version of Timeless, which is a extra size one-shot that takes us from High Republic to the original trilogy and beyond. It introduced new characters, new twists, and new turns all across the Star Wars line. This puts the pieces on the board for what's to come in a galaxy far, far away. They did one of these last year, and I liked it because it, much like Timeless, it's kind of a here's what's coming in Star Wars story. And it seems like they're getting to the end of between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. I wonder what they're going to do with the regular Star Wars comic after that. So you have nothing else until we get to the collected editions. Now, here's the thing. The collected editions for me, I'm not getting very many of these because a lot of them are reprints.
Yep, but there's one that isn't.
Yes, and that is the Micronauts. Original Marvel Years, Omnibus Volume 1.
And we were gaming about this before. I mean, when they got announced by who announces this?
It is Near Mint Collections on YouTube. Mm-hmm. The Uncanny Omar, who I have an interview with. Really cool guy, by the way. Really cool guy. And he has the exclusive to when Marvel omnibuses are announced. Now, there's another YouTuber who gets the Epic collections, but I'm not as interested in them. But yeah, we learned about this a while back. This is Micronauts, the Marvel series from the 70s, issues 1 through 29, annual 1 and 2. Joe, which cover are you getting?
I gotta go for the original Cockrum Milgram cover. It was tempting to go for the Ditko cover, but I gotta stick with what caught my attention all them years ago. The other ones are really nice, but nostalgia wins out for me. How about you?
I gotta go with the Mike Golden cover. I gotta go with it because it's Michael Golden. He was the guy who drew the first 12 issues.
Yeah, gold.
Oh, such a cool cover. Now the Geist cover is pretty cool too. But man, that Golden cover. I remember that ad. Just so awesome.
There was a guy at one of the MCBA cons that has a lot of the original art from the Micronauts annual that Steve Ditko did. And I was in awe to see original art that Ditko actually did.
Now, how much was he charging a page?
I didn't ask. because he was showing it off. He wasn't
Oh.
selling it. So it was kind of fun.
I imagine those pages cost a lot.
Could be.
A lot.
Again, he's usually at one of the shows. If he comes around to the next one, I'll ask him what he paid for him. So that's it for me, omnibus wise. There's nothing else because like you said, most everything is new printings, which is cool. If I was tempted, I'd go back and do like the Captain America. The Thor omnibus is on the fence for me because I do have them. They're not in epics, but I think it was pre-epic, where it's like 7 issues. So it would be nice to maybe just get it in an omnibus form and not have it, 4 or 5 different paperbacks. Other than that, the next thing I got is on page 108, Strange Academy Volume 2. Because I sold mine off because that first issue is silly price just because it's got so many first appearances. Sorry, page 106. So this is Strange Academy Year 1, and then Year 2 is being offered. So if you don't have it, here's your chance to get it all in, because this collects not only Strange Academy 13 through 18, it also finishes Strange Academy Finals 1 through 6. So then you have the whole thing kit and caboodle. Or maybe I'll wait because this sounds like this could be an omnibus coming up.
Well, let's go through what Marvel's offering. First off, Captain America Omnibus Volume 1. This is the Silver Age Captain America. So it is Tales of Suspense 59 through 99, and then Captain America 100 through 113. This is a reprint. They are going to be reprinting all of the Captain America omnibuses, by the way. It's almost like there's going to be a movie featuring the new Captain America at some point. Then we have a new omnibus. I am not picking it up because I have all these comics in really nice trade paperbacks, and that is Amazing Spider-Man by Nick Spencer, Volume 2. So, that Patrick Gleason cover of Spider-Man that's just webbing?
Mm-hmm.
That's a cover for one of these direct market covers for the omnibus. This reprints the second half of Nick Spencer's run on Spider-Man. It was a good run. I liked it. I think it's interesting that this is one where as soon as the run is over, they printed Volume 1, and now they're printing Volume 2. They're doing these Spider-Man omnibuses for these collected runs really fast. We then get a reprint of Daredevil by Frank Miller. This is Daredevil after the Elektra series. So it's called Daredevil by Frank Miller Omnibus Companion. It is the story from Spectacular Spider-Man, the story that's going to be the Netflix series, which is Born Again, probably the best Daredevil story of all time, and one of the top 5 superhero stories of all time. Daredevil Man Without Fear, which was Frank Miller and John Romita Jr. redoing the origin of Daredevil, and then Daredevil graphic novel, Daredevil Love and War, which was a graphic novel by Frank Miller and Bill Sienkiewicz, which was awesome. We get a reprint of Thor by Walt Simonson. If you don't have this, you need to buy it. It is the second best Thor run ever. Kirby's was first. Then we get into the Star Wars stuff. Star Wars Legends, The Rebellion, that reprints a whole big kit and caboodle of the stuff from Dark Horse. The next one I am getting is Star Wars by Gillen and Pack Omnibus. This reprints the second half of the new Marvel run. The first chapter of Star Wars Return to Marvel concludes as Kieran Gillen and Greg Pak's blockbuster run is collected in one volume. This finishes up the series that took us from Star Wars to Empire Strikes Back. And Both covers are awesome, but I'm probably going to get the Phil Noto cover because I love Phil Noto's art. We also get X-Men 2099. Yes, the 2099 omnibus is continued. This is the X-Men series, written by a whole bunch of people. The list of people who drew it is endlessly long. 1,232 pages. I did not much care for X-Men 2099. This was also one of those real early when they were putting comics out on DVD. They put out the entire 2099 run on DVD. That's good enough for me because I didn't like it enough to buy the omnibus. Let's see. You did talk about Strange Academy, year 2. Now, when I bought year 1 thinking that it was the first series, but it wasn't. It was just the first 12 issues. The second volume is the end of the first series and then the mini series that wrapped it all up. So I am picking that up. We then have on, which page is this? Page 104, we talked Marvel Evergreens, and here they are. So these are books that Marvel is saying will stay in print at all times, as well as the Epic Collection, which will go out of print, but they will reprint them. There's one Epic Collection I'm really excited about, Joe.
Which one?
Marvel 2-in-1, Volume 2. Here's the weird thing. Marvel 2-in-1 was one of the few series that they reprinted all of them in the Essentials. They're almost to the end of it in Marvel Masterworks. And now they're going through and doing it in the Epic Collections, which means these sell really well. The stories are okay, not great, but people love these Marvel 2-in-1s. And when I was a kid, by the time I hit about age 13 or 14, and when you're 13 and 14, anything remotely sexual makes you laugh. Hey, it's Marvel 2-in-1. Captain America has one of the worst runs of the series with Volume 21. This is the end of Captain America, where Mark Gruenwald said he was going to tap out after writing it for a year. I'm sorry, was going to tap out a year from this because he'd been on the book for a decade. So he had a story where the super soldier serum was slowly killing him. Oh, this is some bad looking stuff. I mean, the Angel Medina has a story in there, but look at that cover. That cover's just awful. Terrible perspective. Just a pain in the ass of. We do get another Luke Cage Epic Collection. This is Volume 2. This is the era when I read Luke Cage. It's Power Man 24 to 47, written by Don McGregor, Marv Wolfman. It's got a fill-in issue by Chris Claremont, fill-in issue by Tony Isabella, fill-in issue by Bill Manilow. Steve Englehart was the person writing it when Don McGregor took over. And for Epic Collections, Amazing Spider-Man Epic Collection, The Clone Saga. Oh, this is going to be a mess to collect here. Because it is Web of Spider-Man 117 through 119, Amazing Spider-Man 394 to 396, Spider-Man 51 to 53, Spectacular Spider-Man 217 to 219, Spider-Man Unlimited number 7, Clone Subplot Pages. This is when Spider-Man was kind of they were doing what Superman had done, which is they had 4 regular series that made it a de facto weekly book, and each book led into the other.
One into the other.
Now, another thing that I want to point out, we've got another Marvel Modern Epic Collection that is Dark Avengers Volume 1. This is the Brian Michael Bendis after Secret Invasion, when Norman Osborn has taken over the Avengers because he saved us from the Skrulls, Joe. Other than that, that's it for Marvel.
The other thing I'm looking at is way back on page 116, Spider-Woman, the Marvel Collected Edition by Chicho and Perez. That's Perez, not George. And it was a run that I didn't pick up, but here is, it's the whole thing, the 2020 run of Spider-Woman 1 through 21.
This is the story that they had where Spider-Woman has a child.
Rager. Yep. And I picked up a few, but never picked up the rest. So
It's
that's
a fun
the only
series.
other thing
It's a
for
fun
Marvel
series.
I would pick up. All right. So cast your Marvel aside, pick up DC Connects number 41. It's got the Titans Beast World right on the cover, which
Again.
I'm ignoring. So the first one I got is on page 8. So if you can get there without a paper cut, Zod. Kneel before Zod number 1. Zod rules a world of his own, written by Joe Casey with stunning art by Dan McDade. General Zod was Krypton's most notorious criminal. Now, he has an entire planet to rule, but what happens when the most dangerous individual in the universe gets everything he ever wanted? Well, he wants more. He'll stop at nothing to get it. Zod, this is the most brutal series you'll read this year. Not a hero's journey. This is a dark ride. Couple covers to look at, a little bit of tiny art. And this is it looks like a beginning of a series. And it's got a special foil variant. Ooh.
Yeah, it doesn't say that it's a one-shot, so.
Yep. Or a miniseries. So that's my first one. What do you got for DC?
I don't have a lot because they didn't introduce any new books. Although, I do want to point out Action Comics 2023 annual on page, is that
23.
23.
Yep.
The numbers are tiny on this. This is the end to the story that they have been building since the Superman relaunch. Nora Stone's true form has been revealed. Her gateway between worlds is open. The invasion of Earths has begun. As the multiverse's two most powerful families clash above Metropolis, which legacy will Ortho Ra choose? With the followers of Blue Earth defend their treacherous leader or their own home? It has all led to this. 3 years of Action Comics storylines culminate in this pivotal, dramatic, double-sized issue. This is what annuals should be. Annuals should be where big shit happens rather than being a double-size fill-in book.
See, because on the previous page, 22, is where I'm jumping on action at 1060. Because a mistake from Superman's past has returned, and Metropolis hangs in the balance as the super family is betrayed from within and stripped of their powers one by one. Superman sets out on a suicide mission into the multiverse alongside the unlikeliest of allies, Constantine, and the demon, Etrigan.
Yep.
Oh, thank you. Again, remind me next time. Hey, Ryder, you got your reading glasses before you read this tiny print? And, of course, making his return to Action Comics, Bloodwind. So I may jump on there. As far as another new start, there's an ongoing series. They had 2 12-issue miniseries. Page 34, Batman and Scooby-Doo Mysteries. I kind of like these because it's much like Cory talked about, Marvel Team Up, Marvel 2-in-1. Batman teaming up with the gang. And in this case, the first issue, they're going to team up with Nightwing. Why? Well, because they're investigating Haley Circus, which is Dick Grayson's childhood home. If you like facsimiles across the pages, there's your new Teen Titans #1 facsimile edition. And the following pages have on 36 and 37 have an interesting idea where they take a run of Batman 404 to 407, and do a facsimile of it. This essentially is Batman Year One as done by Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli. And it is a key run, not only in terms of back issues, but also terms of standalones. It's one of the better runs of Batman that you can find. That's pretty much it for me. I don't have anything collected.
I don't have anything till we get to the collected editions as well.
I got no collected edition, so I'll sit back and go for it. I'll listen to you. Go for it.
I'm on the fence about the Fourth World Omnibus Volume 2. This is all of the Fourth World stuff after they canceled New Gods. So it's the Mr. Miracle stories that were done by other people, the New Gods issues that were done by other people, the wrap-up in Adventure Comics, and then all the appearances in other places, such as the Great Darkness War is in here. The Secret Society of Supervillains is in here. Superpowers is in here. Now they've
There's first issue special, even the one shot.
Yep. They screw up with the superpowers by saying that it's superpowers number 11 through 23. I don't know what that's supposed to be, because it was the first one was a 6-issue miniseries and the next two were regular miniseries. I am on the fence about this. The superpower stuff I've already gotten a collected edition. The other stuff is okay. It's not great. So this is one where if I can fit it in my budget, I will pick it up, because it is nice to have all these stories collected. But on the other hand, they're, for the most part, they're not Kirby. They were stories that Kirby ignored when he came back and did the final New Gods story in New Gods 1 through 7, the Baxter series, and then Hunger Gods. But on the next page, on page 46, Milestone Compendium Volume 3. This is the Worlds Collide. Oh, this is after Worlds Collide, so it's the stories that come after Worlds Collide. This is not the final version, the final book, but we're getting close. I loved Milestone. I love the fact that they're putting it in these great big huge trade paperbacks. And that's really it for DC. They do have a few more collected editions that they had last month, but not a lot more. And now we go to the big previews. The monster.
The big book. All right. Taking in order, we got Boom is first. The aforementioned Animal Pound, 4-issue miniseries, Tom King, Peter Gross. When animals grow tired of being caged, killed, sold off, it's only a matter of time before they've had enough. When an uprising puts Pound in control of the animals, they quickly find themselves as comrades, united against everything that walks on two legs. But with this newfound power comes sudden challenge: how to best lay the groundwork for this new democracy as they write their first constitution. So you pick it up as miniseries, which I will, or you can wait and there'll probably be a collected edition.
I am going to wait for one simple reason, Joe. Look at the price. $4.99 for a 32-page comic.
I'm looking at all the art samples they got on the next couple pages, or as I call it, Peter Gross showing off.
Well, they also have the covers, and man, that Bill Sienkiewicz cover is awesome.
I know.
I have so much trouble breaking the $3.99 barrier for a regular 32-page comic. I know that they haven't raised comic prices in a long time, but man, that's a barrier. That's one where I go.
Do you have anything else from Boom?
I have a few things from Boom.
Oh,
this is weird because for the longest time it's Boom. It's all licensed stuff. I don't care. On page 40, this is another one I will pick up as a regular trade paperback because the comic just, I'm sorry, that $5 price tag. Under Heist. Written by David and Marta Lapham. Drawn by David Lapham. David Lapham, he got his start at Valiant doing superhero stuff. And once he left, he very quickly went over to Image and started doing crime comics. You probably know him from Stray Bullets. Well, this is another crime comic. After his gambling addiction brings David to the lowest point of his life and decimates his personal life, he'd do anything for one last chance to set things right. But the road is hell. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. He may just be in luck, if he can call it that. The grapevine yields an illicit fruit when he learns of a heist, one involving a tunnel system no one knows better than former NYC subway veteran David. And if you look at the Dave Johnson cover, yeah, this is not going to be a regular crime comic. This is going to be a occult crime comic. Very excited about this.
On page 44, if you're a fan of Something is Killing the Children or Book of Slaughter, you got to pick up Book of Butcher, because this is leading into the 5th anniversary of Something's Killing the Children. And this, basically, you got Maxine Slaughter. She steps back into the spotlight on her journey from white to black mask. With New Orleans as her destination, what will Maxine uncover about the house butcher, and what will she learn about herself in the process? So they're building I guess they're calling it the SIKTC. They got a little logo under the Boom logo. So, you can pick up that. And guys, I'm still waiting for volume 2 of Something Killing the Children. They sold their hardcover. Hopefully soon. That's it for me for Boom.
That's it for me for Boom.
All right, into Dynamite. Do you got anything for Dynamite?
I do not.
All right, a couple of things I just will post or point out if I can get there without these. I feel like I'm getting paper cuts. Page 78, if you're a Marvel fan. Well, if you're a 101 Dalmatian fans, here's the next in the Disney Villain series. Cruella de Vil. Tons of variant covers, metal covers, premium covers. Plus, there's a interview on page 81 with the creator, rising star Sweeney Boo. If you like Darkwing Duck, you've got Justice Ducks on page 82. Got another beginning series. Page 84 has an interview with the Roger Langrid, as well as some tiny art. So if you're into that. On page 94, the return of Jennifer Blood in Battle Diary. Tons of variant covers. And of course, the big thing, Jennifer Blood was created by Garth Ennis. This one's written by Fred Van
Lente
and Robert Carley. What I've noticed when I go to cons lately is people are really getting into these Linsner covers. So if you're so inclined, tell your local comic shop that you want the Linsner cover. Of course, there's line art. There'll probably be Virgin art, as well as a super limited Virgin cover. Interview with Fred on the next page. Some trade paperbacks to let you get caught up. And on page 112, the final thing, if you are a Garbage Pail Kids fan, there you get the Garbage Pail Kids Origin hardcover special editions. For $40, they're signed, they're hardcover, and they come with 3 exclusive new Topps approved Garbage Pail Trading Kids trading cards. Whew. So if you want a chance to get it, you can get the $40 version or the sketched and remarked hardcover copy for $75 on the next page, depending on just how much you like me or other people. And now it is time for me to give out a thank you. 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 Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. On page 125, Image is back in previews. Not that they're in previews listing it, but they actually have a listing. So I can read what I think I'm going to buy For example, Duke #1, if you're a G.I. Joe fan, I'm not, so I'm not. It's a mini series. Again, much more easier for me to decide what to read, to decide what to buy. For example, and it's going to pay off, Image, because on page 126, I'm getting the Astro City Opus Edition Volume 1, or as we call it, Omnibus. This contains Astro City Volume 1, 2, 3D Special, Local Heroes, a special #1, a visitor's guide, and portions of 9 to 11 world's finest comic book writers and artists tell stories to remember. So my hope is if it says Volume 1, there's going to be a Volume 2. So, and this is, I was talked to Cory about whether I, jumping in and buying the reprints of Astro City. Well, you just made it easy for me, Image. I'm just going to buy this.
Yeah, I wish I would have known about this. I would have picked this up rather than the Metro books.
Yeah. So, I'm getting the Opus. I'm getting the Opus. Anything from Image for you, Mr. Strode?
Oh, all kinds of stuff.
Oh, good. I'll sit back and listen. This is where if Cory says something cool, I usually jot down, yeah, I better pick that up.
Well, first off, I am going to point out Fear Agent has shown up at Image. That is the book by Rick Remender and Tony Moore. Odd, because I believe this was a Dark Horse book.
I don't know.
But the 20th anniversary books are showing up over here at Image. Also, on page 127, we've got the final volume of Howard Chaykin's Hey Kids Comics, which is his version of the history of comic books, where everyone is kind of disguised, barely, and he airs all the dirty laundry he knows, including about people he knew and liked. Also on that page, I don't know if I am picking this up or not. It's a price thing. Lifehouse. This is an original graphic novel based on rock music legend's 1970 screenplay of the same name, which inspired the album Who's Next? Originally envisioned as a sci-fi rock epic to follow up the Who's chart-topping album Tommy, put aside 50 years ago, but the songs in it were turned into the album Who's Next? Lifehouse finally takes the stage, set in a dystopian future where music has been outlawed. What is it with these rock bands who do concept albums about music being outlawed? We got Rush's 2112. We got Styx's Kilroy was here. I know there are at least 2 or 3 others by heavy metal bands. It's like, dude, get past it. Lifehouse follows a small band of rebels who stage an underground concert in an effort to undermine a tyrannical leader and free Britain and all humanity. This also features a massive vinyl LP, which is the music that was created for Lifehouse. So $49.99, you get the graphic novel and the vinyl LP. I don't know.
Get the slipcase. Go for the slipcase. Be a man. You look at it and go, oh, I'm glad I did that.
On the next page, however, there's a book I am getting, and that is Where the Body Was. That is the newest book by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. A boarding house full of druggies, a neglected housewife, a young girl who thinks she's a superhero, a cop who wants to be left alone, and a private detective looking for a runaway girl. These stories collide one fateful summer in Where the Body Was, a tale of love and murder in the suburbs, told from a dozen different points of view. I don't care what the story is. It's Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips doing a crime comic. You know I'm buying it. You already know I'm buying it. Joe?
Yes, sir.
Anything else from Image?
Nope. I'm going to go with just me, some Astro City, other than the normal stuff I buy.
Well, then that takes us to our deluxe publishers.
My first one is way up in Dark Horse. I don't have anything from Aftershock or Titan.
Yeah, Titan was kind of lacking this month, other than Conan.
Yeah. So in Dark Horse, I'm on. Holy cow! I got to jump to page 216. Time Traveler Tales.
So then you're jumping over. Let's see, Ablaze.
Yep.
I want to point out these publishers we're jumping over. Wow, Ablaze has a bunch. Opus.
Yep.
And Massive.
Yep.
And Zenoscope, although
Yep.
I don't think I've ever bought anything from Zenoscope.
No, I tend to buy Zenoscope like when I see it at cons because it's very much cover driven and some of the stories are fun. So, but if you jump to page 216 in Dark Horse, the one thing new I'm getting, Time Traveler Tales. They got 1 and 2 there right away. Oliver has a problem, a time travel problem. Oh, you got me already. Some mysterious force keeps throwing him through time, and this time he's in the Wild West rescuing circus animals. But as crazy as that is, it's only the beginning of his adventure. And number 2, he's connected somehow to a particular pocket watch and a hooded stranger, and now he's in Victorian London. With the egg of a ragtag team of street urchins, Oliver seeks to take hold of his destiny. So, no idea if this is a mini-series or ongoing, but I'm in it. I'm in Dark Horse. I'm in. What do you got from Dark Horse?
On page 217, you have Eerie Archives Volume 4. This is a trade paperback. This is when Eerie was still well worth buying. It's got art by, well, here are the creators, Joe. Archie Goodwin, Frank Frazetta, Reed Crandall, Tom Sutton, Al Williamson, Edgar Allan Poe, Ambrose Bierce. Yeah, it's still worth getting. But then on the next page, on page 218, Shook, a black horror anthology. In partnership with Second Sight Publishing, Dark Horse Comics is proud to present Shook, a black horror anthology with over 200 pages of terrifying material. The anthology is filled with stories from a range of award-winning black writers and artists. Stemming from a love of Southern Gothic horror, this anthology has a cadre of award-winning or nominated writers representing awards such as the Eisner Awards, the Ringo Awards, the Hugo Awards. Here's my question, Joe. Are they putting this out in December and not October? Seems like a mess. Next up is IDW. Joe, you getting anything from IDW?
Nothing. I should say nothing new.
Nothing new. Same here.
Yep.
I wish they would get that Star Wars Year 5, not Star Wars, Star Trek Year 5 hardcover out so that I could complete the set. Bastards.
For me, the next one on page 225, there's a couple things I'm going to point out on the bottom. X-Men, the art and making of the animated series, which has been out before, highly recommended. And of course, our old pal, Dan Wiesenmeyer, if you bring him a copy or figure a way to get it to him, he'll do a quick sketch for you. I don't know if he charges or not, but he did the storyboards for X-Men. The fun part about it, and this is almost a Tales of the Shop story, was that because he was the storyboard artist, we had the inside scoop to the X-Men and how hot it was going to be and how cool it was going to be. Dan got the job because he wrote actual mini comics. I wonder if he still has his storyboards. Some of them, I believe, are in the book. So we actually got to see a little bit about it. He was also very instrumental in us locking in Hot Comics as the sole advertiser for the animated series months before it hit the airwaves. Because again, just like Iron Man, X-Men was like, who's really going to watch this? We don't know. I suppose we'll do it. And it, to this day, people still love it. Right above it, Cory, you getting this? The Mighty Marvel calendar book, visual history.
Yeah. Again, the price is too much. $50 for the book, but still. Mm-hmm. I love these calendars. These were, the first two calendars where they had the dates of the birthdays of Marvel creators and then the dates of when comics came out. It's like on this day, Fantastic Four #1 came out on this day. Yeah, that was the best. That was just the best. And to this day, I wish they were still putting these out.
Oh, yeah. The final thing is on the next page. The Simpson Treehouse of Horror Omnibus Volume 1. I believe this was out before, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay,
This is, first off, this is a $40 book, and it is a beautiful, huge slipcase.
Yes.
Well worth the money.
Yeah, I have it. The Treehouse of Horror comics were as much fun as the Treehouse of Horror animated show. The only difference being is that some of them are extremely expensive on the back issue market, and you are not going to find them if you're lucky. Because not only did they have the biggest name in comics, Michael Allred, Sergio Aragones, Kyle Baker, Jeff Brown, Jill Thompson, they also had celebrities writing these things. Mark Hamill, Tom Lennon, Pat Oswalt. I believe Gene Simmons did one. So good luck finding the back issues. Just buy this book. You're going to love it. It's omnibus size, omnibus worthy. Cory?
I do want to point out on page 230, we mentioned a while back that Valiant had canceled all books going forward. They have been acquired by a new publisher, Alien Books, which is now why they're in the front of previews. They say, at last, classic Valiant characters return in a new comic book format. Be part of the bold new era of the Valiant universe. After X-O, Manowar, and Ninjak, the series that they need to wrap up, expect Britannia, Bloodshot, the Valiants, Faith, Rye, Livewire, Dr. Mirage, Archer and Armstrong, and more. It looks like that they are going to do a reboot on the Valiant universe. So this will be the, fifth time? But they are also reprinting the previous issues that had not been completed yet as square bound. So there's X-O Manowar #4, but on the next page, they've got a square bound 64 pager that reprints issues 1 through 3. For Ninjak, they're just going to take the next miniseries was going to be a Ninjak miniseries. They're going to wrap that up in 2 square bound issues. They've also got a new series. Again, it's going to be square bound too, sort of. Basically, what it looks like to me is they're clearing out the warehouse, and then the stuff that they already had done, they're just going to get that out. Then on the last page of their little section on page 236, they have some of the other stuff that Alien Books has done. One of the ones I want to point out is Sunshine Patriots, which was a 2-issue series by Howard Chaykin, which was phenomenal. Absolutely loved it because, come on, it's Howard Chaykin. Joe, what you got next?
Back on page 227, if you remember, back in 1999 at Image, Mike Deodato, David Campatiti, Mike Buckley did a series called Jade Warriors. Jade Warriors is a continuing story of the latest members of a barely dressed team of female warriors who began as servants to Japanese heroes and eventually become Yakuza assassins. They are Jade, Ruby, Sapphire, Opal, and the blonde Onyx, the only American member of the team. Now they're protectors of the innocent and hot on the trail of the diabolical Death Kiss, a sultry stripper who is also the killer of Jade's sister. Beautiful, but certainly gratuitous. And here's your chance to get the no edition hardcover. I think it's Setai. You can get not only the slipcase edition, but you're going to pay $20 more and get the signed and numbered slipcase edition. They're only going to do 1,000 of these and 500 unsigned copies. So forget I said that because I want a signed one. That's got to be the other way around. Either way, here's your chance. I mean, Deodato's work was amazing. Totally off the wall. People were just loving it. But again, it was 1999. And he's gone on, of course, to do many other things. He turned Wonder Woman into a biker chick bad girl, among other things. So here's your chance to get it all done in one, or go hunt them back issue bins where you'll good luck finding them. Cory?
If you go to page 247 in the Archie Digest, I don't pick up all the digests. I do pick up the special ones, and this is a special one. This is Archie's Pep Comics.
Oh, wow.
It draws stories from Pep Comics from the 40s to the 80s. This was one of the, basically, this was an anthology comic in the 40s that Archie took over. And Archie's doing these, they cost a little more, but they're reprints that just reprint stories from specific series. I picked those up, especially because they have the stuff from the 40s and 50s, which is, the stuff for the 40s is very, very different from what came in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. In a lot of ways, creatively, the peak of Archie was the 50s. And the more I read Archie, the more I really love that stuff from the 50s and into the early 60s. By the 60s, they had developed their format. They had cartoon series and marketing and everything. So the stories became kind of stale in a lot of ways. They're still entertaining. They're still well done. But the stuff in the 50s and 60s, they were just funnier. And I think a lot of it was because the creators were closer in age to being a teenager. So their memories for being a teenager were better. Joe?
I'm going to pop back to page 245, the Sabrina Teenage Witch Holiday Special. Mainly because I love Sabrina, but look at that. David Mack is doing a cover, which is absolutely stunning. And it's weird because he has got a renaissance going where people are just absolutely loving his covers. And I'm sorry, Veronica Fish. Never mind. But anyways, it's a beautiful cover. Check it out. I'm telling you, man, I really gotta get my glasses back.
What did you do with your glasses? Did Butch take them?
They're upstairs. I can't can't get away. But what do you got next for us?
On page 283, one of the more obscure, weird titles from Dark Horse's early days is being reprinted, and that is Roach Mill. Roach Mill by Rick Hedden and Tom McWeeny, drawn by Tom McWeeny, the exterminator of the future in a world that still isn't ready for him. Reprints all of the Roach Mill stories from Dark Horse Presents. They were fun. Basically, roaches have mutated, and you don't kill them with gas. You have to kill them with guns and other highly destructive weapons. Joe?
It seems to be a remake for comic titles, because back in 1993, Lightning Comics had Bloodfire. Well, on page 264 under Blood Moon Comics, Bloodfire returns in a one-shot for God and Country. It's a 1993 hero, took the comic industry by storm. Not really. Bloodfire was the world's first superhero to get his superpower due to the AIDS virus. Does that ring a bell now?
No,
now in the present day,
that sounds offensive as hell.
The world had been swept up in a medical pandemic. Now, how's this affected him? If you ordered this way back in August 22, it's been resolicited. 4 different covers to go from. I just pointed out. I don't know what you were doing in 93 at a comic store. What did I know? Cory? I'm sorry. Right across from it's a book called Distempered, which is a brand new one. Just getting by this post-apocalyptic shell of a world where man's best friend has caused the death of 90% of humanity is already hard enough, but it becomes exponentially more deadly when a group of survivors inadvertently rescues a kidnapped woman and finds himself dragged into an unrelenting struggle against a family of a better armed and much more dangerous adversary. So if you like post-apocalyptic shell of a world, this is the beginning of a 3-issue miniseries. Cory won't buy it though because it's 32 pages for $5.
If you go to page 311, the second volume of Homicide, the graphic novel, this is an adaptation of David Simon's book about a year on the Homicide Squad in Baltimore that was turned into a series on NBC. And for my mind, one of the top 5 TV series of all time. David Simon went on to do other series that people have liked, like Oz, this little series that, I don't know, some people like it, called The Wire.
Never last.
I picked up the first one, absolutely loved it. I love this as well. So really looking forward to it. And it is not a feel-good book because it is based on true events. Not every case is closed. Not everything has a happy ending. Joe?
Every so often, Cory and I do a podcast, Lost Universes. If you want to play along in Gemstone Publishing on page 314, you can pick up your copy. They have the iron gel cover, both soft cover and hard cover. We'll get through the rest of it eventually. If you're looking for something new, go to page 340 under Mad Cave. Skeeters. Small town hijinks ensue as extraterrestrial mosquitoes descend on a sleepy beach town. When a giant mosquito-like alien creature invades a rural seaside community, a frustrated sheriff and 2 oddball exterminators end up being the town's only hope for survival. A comedic and gruesome story for fans of Slither, arachnophobia, and other classic creature features. A couple pages of small art there on page 341 for you to look at. Yeah, I'll pick this baby up. Looks good. Cory?
If you go to page 319 from Humanoids Press, Through Clouds of Smoke, Freud's Final Days. The aging Sigmund Freud reflects on the torments of age, the lung cancer he suffers due to cigar addiction, and the rise of Nazism. This is not something that I was interested in, but they have a 10-page preview of it. And it just looks amazing. I have a psychology degree. I went to college in the 80s, and by the 80s, Freud's ideas were finally starting to fall out of vogue. Freud was one of the first people to look at psychology as a science. Therefore, he is important. But the problem is that so much of his research was based on a single patient. He didn't follow the scientific theory, so we have moved beyond him. He is still important for being one of the first. And a lot of his ideas became very entrenched in how people think about each other and how we think about how we do things. But even in college, I was very much, when I was studying Freud, I spent a lot of time rolling my eyes. I'm far more, I tend to fall more toward the ideas of Carl Jung. But this is a beautiful looking book, and it looks like it was very heavily researched. So I'm interested in it. It's one of those where I would have passed right past it if not for this preview. So smart move, Humanoids. Very smart move. Joe?
Still in Mad Cave on page 342. Charred Remains. A dark entity made of fire, smoke, and ash, the Fireman, blazes through a young girl's home, killing her entire family. Amy Durant swears she saw the supernatural creature, but no one believes her. Fortunately, these past fears reignited decades later as her city goes up in flames. With no one else to rely on, Amy is forced to battle both past trauma in the face of the inferno. 4 small pages, a couple different variant covers to choose from. Cory?
There is a reprint or offered again, or I don't know. But somehow I missed this in the past, probably because previews is over 500 pages long. On page 339, Centralia. The earth in and around Centralia has warmed so much it's impossible to stand without melting. Those who survive long enough will be confronted with carnivorous birds, collapsing building, and the trigger-happy Sunia nassaless, armed with bazookas and stilts. Against their better judgment, a group of adventurers set out to discover the treasure of gold hidden away in the heart of this abandoned town. This is not a true story, but it is based on an actual city, Centralia, Pennsylvania, which had a coal mine under it, which caught fire, and they were unable to put the fire out to the point where it is still burning decades later.
Oh, you know the fun part?
What's that?
It's burning towards a hazardous mine. So,
Good.
It could still create trouble. So
This
don't
story
let that worry you.
This story has fascinated me since I was a kid, and it's obvious that someone has been fascinated enough that they put together a 144-page graphic novel about it. Joe.
Do you remember the movie that was semi-based there?
No.
The Hills Have Eyes. I don't know if it's totally based on it, but that's kind of...
No. Hills Have Eyes I've seen, and it's not anywhere close to reality.
I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying, next time you wander through Centralia, the whole place is basically walled off. So you basically, if you walk through it, I think the reason they closed it was that a kid fell into a steaming sinkhole and he was survived, but it was very close. He may not have made it if there wasn't anybody there to pull him out, which is why they evacuated the town. And you still got people like, I ain't leaving. I'm born here. I'm going to die here. Well, I think eventually the power of the post office actually closed the town because they couldn't get their mail anymore. And I do believe nobody lives there now. Still houses there. You should go check out some of the go to Google and check out the images. Scary stuff.
Yeah.
And it could happen here. Hopefully the next book I'm reading doesn't happen here. From Oni Press, Invasive #1, 4-issue miniseries. Dr. Kray Reynolds was a veterinarian trauma surgeon with godlike mastery of muscle and bone. But outside the operating room, her rigidly ordered life spiraled into chaos when her daughter, Heather, a recovering plastic surgery addict, suddenly disappeared, only to mysteriously reemerge in a catatonic state. Her vocal cords removed. The latest in a series of victims scarred by a battery of brazenly cruel medical procedures that have baffled police and left an alarming number of once ordinary citizens maimed, mutilated, or DOA. Deep beneath the streets of Cary City, a new kind of underground hospital has just opened its doors, and once inside, there are no rules, no walls, no taboos, too deep not to be broken. Together, a new class of surgeon has sworn to pierce the final threshold of acceptable medical orthodoxy, one incision at a time. Bunch of different covers. On page 353, you get a bunch of character designs. 4-issue miniseries, just chilling. I do want to point out the last deluxe edition of Kaiju Max from local writer, artist, cover artist Sander Cannon. This collects seasons 5, 1 through 6, and season 6, 1 through 6. So you can get the third and final Kaiju size deluxe edition ordered this month. Let's see, I think that's it for Oni. What you got next, Cory?
Joe, go to page 369. 69. Nice.
Cool.
The Maze Agency.
Oh, another flashback.
Creator Mike W. Barr joins forces with artist Silvio Betteromo to return to the world of everyone's favorite comic book detective team. Jennifer Mays, sophisticated New York private eye and owner of the Maze Agency, and her paramour, Gabriel Webb, a somewhat scruffy true crime writer and an amateur sleuth, romance, solve crimes, and catch killers in fair play detective stories that the reader is challenged to solve before they do. This was a series that been created off and on by Mike W. Barr, one of the first incarnations.
It went from Innovation, Caliber, IDW, and Scout.
In the early
is this
incarnations.
All new, or is this a reprint?
This is
sweet.
all new. Joe, who was the artist on the first run?
Let's see if I can find it here.
No. Guess.
Guess? I wouldn't know. I'd never read it.
Adam Hughes. It was
Oh,
Adam Hughes's first series.
yeah. Oh, amazing.
These are
He
really
did.
fun
Yeah, he
books.
did like the first 5, and then issue 6 was Joe Stanton. Adam Hughes did in number 8 again, number 12. So you can always tell which ones he did because those are the ones that will pop up in price.
Really fun series, very well written. Mike W. Barr is one of those guys who I miss him doing comics. He did not do comics the way a lot of other people did. Now, his Batman and the Outsiders run, he did have goofy, campy villains, but the stories themselves were well done. His Maid's Agency reads very much like a series that would be in the Ellery Queen Mystery Magazine. What they mean by fair play mystery, a fair play mystery is where all the clues are given to you as a reader. Nothing is held back. So it's not the detective knows something you don't, or there's extra information you need to know that wasn't presented to the reader. Nope, everything's there. So you put the puzzle together as the detective in the story does. I like this series a lot. Kind of shocked that nobody has picked it up for a TV series. Joe?
It's kind of funny because it seems to be a theme going on that a lot of old properties are trying to make a comeback. Rude Dude Productions coming out with Nexus, the newspaper strip, Volume 1.
Again?
Of Cormando, oversized edition this time. Mike Baron, Steve Rude, something long dormant beneath the surface of, how do you say it? Lum? Ilum, thank you. Comes alive, triggering a visit from the planet-devouring Cormando and his mysterious ally. With powers beyond those of even Nexus himself, this unstoppable being banishes Nexus to an unknown realm. The only way out is to face one worse fear. It says it's a new Nexus adventure in a special oversized collection.
This is one. Remember when Steve Rude was at the Fall Con back, I believe it was 2014 or 2015?
Mm-hmm.
He was pushing the Kickstarter for this.
Cool.
It's been in previews like 4 or 5 times.
Well, this looks like a new one, and underneath he's got the deluxe.
It looks like it's finally done.
He got the deluxe. Yeah, that's for $30, or the deluxe sign edition, or the deluxe edition for $300, or for $350, the signed and numbered slipcase edition. Only 250 copies of it. The artist edition weighs in at 10 pounds or more, and since I want it, has probably already been sold on his website. Not that I'm bitter, of course, but.
Well, the reason that the Kickstarter ended is because Steve Rude realized he was not going to get it done. And then he solicited it, and he pulled the solicitation because it wasn't done. Mm-hmm. It takes him a long time to draw.
Yep.
Now, one of the things you may or may not know, Baron and Rude have broken up. So the next Nexus story, Mike Baron will be doing his version of Nexus stories, and his will come out much faster. I believe that he's going to do both novels and comics, and Steve Rude will be doing his version, which will come out much slower but be drawn by Steve Rude. So that's what's going on with Nexus. Joe, what do you have next?
The final item for me is Kitty Corner from that on page 367 from Scout Comic, Blood Run. For fans of Twisted Metal and Death Race, welcome to the Boneyard, folks. It's a race from hell, revving its engine with death and destruction. The most ruthless of race car drivers have come to this unholy super speedway to test their mettle. There are no limits, there are no rules, but with each passing lap, the sadistic violence ratchets up another level like a child burning ants with flamethrower. Sorry, said that wrong. It ratchets up another level like a child burning ants with a flamethrower. Can anyone see the checkered flag? Can anyone survive the Blood Run? 3 different variant covers to choose from. And like I said, that's it for me comic book wise. Cory, you got anything?
I have one last thing as well, and that is on page 407.
Cory's got more than me. I told you this was a weird month.
Yashima, Princess Half Demon, Volume 4. This is based on and a sequel to Inuyasha, which was by Rumiko Takahashi. This is The character was designed by Rumiko Takahashi, so she is overseeing the series, but it is written and drawn by Takashi Shina. It is not as... One of the things about Rumiko Takahashi was that her stuff always felt like a romantic comedy sitcom. Maison Ikoku, Lum, Inuyasha, Ranma One Half. This is more action-oriented. It is not as fun or as funny, but it is very well done. It's hard for me to know what manga to get because there's so much of it. And a lot of it is, volume 7, volume 10, volume 15. You don't know what new ones are any good yet because I just don't know manga very well. But the few I do know, I really enjoy. This is one that I really enjoy. And that's it for me.
All right, time to flip that catalog over because this is the section we call For Brian. One of our listeners bitterly, actually not that bitterly, so we never cover toys unless it's something cool. So we now will go through the toy section. And as everybody knows, Brian is an insane Funko Pop collector. I bet you he
hates them.
He actually went to Funko. You can go to Funko Pop and get your own pop made. Your pop figure. Should we do that, Cory? Get our own pop figure made?
Now, you sent me the link, and what I tried to do was make the baby metal ones.
Well,
because they came out in 2016, and they go for $200 each.
I don't think
you can't.
No,
I tried.
You got to make your own pop of you.
Well, what it is, you have limited choices. It's okay.
Yeah, but
which of these hairstyles, which of these...
Yeah. Yeah, if you're a normal human, not that we said Cory's normal, but all I know is the few I've seen are dead on ringers. So if you try and you don't want to, try to infringe on somebody else's copyright, you could probably make your own pop figure, or just do like Brian and go to page 35. And these are the ones I know he's going to get put on his, there's a Pop Schoolhouse Rock vinyl figures. They're all pretty cool, but I definitely know he's going to get the bill, just a bill, sits there on Capitol Hill. And since we all know Brian is a WWE hardcore maniac, on page 36, he'll probably go down and get Rock Pop or the Triple H Skull King Super Vinyl figure, because it's really big, or go get the Stone Cold Zamboni Super Deluxe figure. Me, I'm probably going to go for the Vader. Big fan Vader. And Cory will probably
There's a guy WWE just blew it with.
Oh, yeah. I know Cory will probably go for the Rick Rude figure and just call it his.
Nah, not really.
They got a John Cena one. We could get the Uso one and change it to us. I'd have to I'd wear the hat and you can be the guy with the, never mind. Other than that, in the rest of the previews, what else did you see in the previews catalog that Brian is going to buy?
Joe, go to page 45.
45.
We have little Godzilla plushes. We have the standard Godzilla. We have the burning Godzilla. We have the atomic breath Godzilla. We have the one that I want, the black and white Godzilla. I am surprised that Pat has not called you up and said, Joe, I want toys.
I don't think Pat likes fluffy things.
But it has a working zipper to open and close his monstrous maw.
Nope, that's not his wheel well.
Well, it's mine. Little stuffed Godzillas.
Yeah.
And that's it for me.
For me, other than the pops that, we all know Brian's crazy about, I recommend on page 59, you've got the Superman and the Mechanical Monsters 1941 5-point deluxe figure box set. Very cool, very expensive. I'd be very surprised to see this anywhere. On page 66, There it is, the Cradle of Filth Succumbus 5-inch Fitzbig action figure, in case you've wanted a 5-inch Succumbus action figure. And finally, on page 79, I recommend there's the Star Trek Next Generation Nano Force Army Builder figure box set. So you can get the Enterprise or the original series one. I recommend the original series because that's the coolest of all the Enterprises. Don't mind pun. I mean, yeah, Strange New Worlds, you're pretty cool, but nothing beats the original. And that's it for me.
You know who else you should be buying stuff from?
I already go to my local comic book stores once a week.
No, these guys, our sponsors.
Oh!
Our newest sponsor is NordVPN. Let's be honest, if you're out on the internet, you need a VPN to protect you. There's all sorts of things going on the internet where people can track you. You could accidentally download a keylogger, all sorts of things. NordVPN gives the best security possible. It has a password manager which generates complex passwords, syncs across all your devices, stores your notes and credit card information. It also gives you 10 gigabytes of private cloud storage, secure files. It backs up your data automatically. But the main thing it gives you is peace of mind. It gives you peace of mind when you're out on the internet, when you're streaming, when you're playing games, when you're listening to podcasts like this one. It gives you safety anywhere at any time. It protects your online activity. You get full access to all content. And if you use the link go.nordvpn.net sh3ku, it'll take you to where you can get a great deal for a 1-month plan, a 2-year plan, a 1-year plan. They are our newest sponsor. We're happy to have them. And if you would like to sponsor something here at any of the podcasts on the Solitaire Rose Network, you can. Just email me, solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com. Thanks. And because it's previews, we do not do a retro review.
Nope.
And we only have one freaking and one geeking. So, Joe, what are you freaking on this week?
I'm sick. In case you notice my voice going in and out. I was up at I don't know. Have you ever taken your meds and it hits your stomach and you go, oh, I know this is supposed to help me, but this is a mistake.
Yes.
Hour later. Oh my God. I don't know what happened or why it's so bad, but So I took a sick day and, I always feel guilty about taking a sick day, but then I'm like, you know what? Screw you, TSA. I'm taking a sick day. Either that or I'm getting everybody sick. You choose.
Get everybody sick. Get everybody sick.
Well, I will, because I'm going in for overtime tomorrow. So
Yay,
overtime. That's pretty much all I'm
getting everybody sick.
On. Well, the other problem is because I was sick, I didn't have a lot. What's the one thing you do when you're nauseous? You dilute it with something. So in case you have to, I didn't have anything. So I was like drinking water and it was a rough night. Anyways, that's all I'm freaking on. Cory, what you freaking on?
I am freaking on the fact that Jonathan Hickman gave an interview and he said that some of the ideas that he is doing for Marvel started years ago as ideas for DC that they said no to. Such as the new series Gods, which will reorder the Marvel Cosmic Universe. That was actually he was going to do an updated version of the new Gods for the new 52. And DC passed on it. Now, Joe, you've read House of X, Power of X, right?
Oh, yeah.
That was going to be his reboot for the Legion of Superheroes.
Wow.
Yeah. Both really awesome. Both love him a lot. Glad Marvel locked him down. But could you imagine a Jonathan Hickman Legion of Superheroes? Every so often, we find out about books that we didn't get. and it drives me crazy because you hear the idea and you go, what moron would say no to that? The first one I remember was Alan Moore's Twilight of the Superheroes, which is available online. I've read the pitch a whole bunch of times. When you read that pitch, you're like, what idiot didn't give this a green light immediately and throw money at Alan Moore? Or the Grant Morrison, Mark Waid reboot of Superman in 2000, which is also available online. And when you read that pitch, you go, this would have been fantastic. And you look at the comics, this was basically what's going to come after the Triangle era. You know, when the 4 Superman books were all connected. The sales on that had finally started to die down around 2000. And the DC editorial said, okay, we're going to bring in all new people, going to kind of reboot Superman again. And when I tell you that, you're going to think back and go, well, I don't remember anything special happening. That's because the people who came on really didn't do anything big. They turned down a Mark Waid, Grant Morrison Superman reboot in 2000. And both of them, of course, went over to Marvel right after that, because I believe Mark Waid was told by a certain editor at DC he would never be allowed to touch Superman for any reason. Well, that editor's gone, and now look, Mark Waid's doing Superman stories.
Yay!
I also found out, I hinted at this last week and then completely forgot about it when we got to the end. Larry Hama was told by the new Marvel editors back when Harris was in charge that he would never be allowed to work at Marvel again. And the reason was that editor on the X-Men books had tapped him to do a book that was way behind that editor was supposed to write. And Larry Hama did what he was asked to do, followed the editorial direction, got it in on time, saved the editor's ass, but the editor was not happy that Larry Hama had told people that he had to save the editor's ass, and that editor said that he would never work at Marvel again. And then when that editor went over to DC, he was told he would never work at DC. Well, Larry Hama just had a Marvel book about 2 weeks ago. So when someone is told, you will never work at blah, blah, blah again, just remember, Steve Gerber sued Marvel in 1979, 1980. And then he had a new series at Epic in 1983. So you will never work here again is something you can ignore. But there's so many of these so many of these pitches that show up online where you go, this would have been amazing. And then you look at what was actually published, and they chose this mediocre piece of crap over this brilliant idea. It blows my mind. Joe, what are you geeking on?
I was sick today, but I also spent the day plowing through comics. And there's 2 things that I do. First of all, I always put stuff on my eBay store. You can go to either the eBay store, Crazy Comics and Stuff. Cory has links on our website and stuff. Or you can go to my Facebook page, which is Crazy Comics and Stuff. See how original I am? And you can just, basically, anytime I post something new, I put it there. I don't have a lot of followers. I don't really push it a lot, but it's your chance to see what pops up. And believe me, there's been times I put things on, and before I get a chance to say, hey, look it's sold. So things are going good. In the meantime, I've also got a bunch of stuff. I'm locked and loaded. I'm ready for FallCon 23, October 28th, out at the Minnesota Bloomington Armory, 3300 West 98th Street in Bloomington. Go to mncba.org for all the fun details. I'll tell you guys what I did. I took all my $5 books, I put them $2. I put all my regular books down to $5. And everything that's, well, let's just say I've added a lot as well. So should be a lot of fun. In addition, anything that's got that Green Dot was a personal comic of our old friend Mike Edmondson, who passed away a while back. I'll be there with not only that, I'll be there with his statues. I'll be there with Lisa, his wife, who is going to be selling his pops. So Brian, well, control yourself. Don't go nuts. And she'll be selling them out. She's been doing the same thing, repricing everything. So my buddy Pat's going to be there. Brian Wilson, one of the original guys who ran the MCBA, is going to be there with stuff of his collection. Not his aforementioned Lois Lane. That's about, he said, the only thing he wants to keep. And I don't know what else Brian has in his collection, but he was a customer of mine throughout the 90s. In addition, I got all my new comics in order. They're in a box, alphabetical, numerical, and I'm happy to say I'm not missing anything where it's like, okay, the Thor's issue 1, 2, and 5. I mean, somewhere I have a box with 2 and 3 in it, or 3 and 4, or 6 and 8. I don't know. But everything's there. Everything's organized. And as I'm digging through stuff, again, there's some things I'm going to probably sell, like the last run of Fantastic Four. It's too much like a negative, but I'm tapping out at issue 10. I'm just not digging it. Predator 1 through 6, that last Punisher by Aaron. And I've also got the original Edge of Spider-Verse run, not the Gwen Stacy one. That one I actually sold years ago when it popped up to like a $300 back issue. I do have the replica. If you're interested in any of that, just pop me a line before I put it on the eBays, because I'm in a bind. I'm way behind. I'm willing to make a deal. That's pretty much what I'm geeking on. Cory, what you geeking on?
Well, Box Day finally came on Sunday.
Day. That means mine should be next week. Hooray!
And in it was one of the things I ordered in our toy section.
Oh.
The Man-Thing lunchbox. I'm such a nerd for this thing. The art is by John Buscema. They have some individual panels on the side. There is a thermos inside. It's shameful how giddy I was about getting this. It is so cool. I didn't have one of those, character lunch boxes when I was a kid. We didn't bring our lunch to school. We ate the school lunch. It was the kids who brought their lunch from home who had the lunch box, and we didn't do that. And I was always kind of envious of the kids who had the cool lunchbox, the Land of the Lost, the, Soup Batman, or, $6 Million Man was the big one. Now I have a Star Wars lunchbox right here. I have a Batman lunchbox that is in the shape of the Batman.
I'm Batman.
But this Man-Thing lunchbox makes me so happy. It's shameful how happy I am about this thing. And it's weird how something like that can just kind of make your day. I almost wish I was working in the office, because I would bring my lunch in that lunchbox. But that would mean I would have to go into the office, and I don't want to have to do that. I actually, every so often, will have a dream where I'm at the office, working in an office, and the whole time I'm like, why are we working in the office? I could easily do this from home. I worked from home for years, and it was not a problem. And there's always some boss who's like, no, you have to be here. You have to be here. I call those nightmares.
You know what I have dreams of a lot? I collect Hot Wheel cars.
Yes.
And I dream that, okay, so I'm walking through a shopping mall, and eventually I run into a store that has Hot Wheels. And I start going through the Hot Wheels, and there are tons and tons of Hot Wheels that I want. They're either fire trucks, or they're like cars based on TV shows or movies and things like that. And since I have a credit card, I can buy as many as I want. And that's inevitably where the dream ends, is I'm just digging through, buying, I got to get this mash chopper. I got to get this. Here's a 3-ton. I never want to wake up from those dreams.
I am always glad when I wake up from the dreams about having to go back to the office, because for a while you're like, do I have to work in the? No, I'm still working from home. I'm still working from home.
I had dreams that when I had the comic shop, and a little bit when I was at TSA, that I was working at Sears, where I worked for 10 years. And the comic shop was always funny. And even the ones when I really don't have to be here. I'm just here as a part-time. And I happen to be the only one on the floor, but, whatever, I'll sell things. But I don't have to be here, which made the job more satisfying than versus a job where you, like you said, I gotta be here.
Well, believe it or not, kids, this is not a podcast about our dreams.
Nor is it a dream.
No. And we've talked about funny books for an hour and a half.
Which is probably a record for the previous show. There
Yeah.
was not a lot there this month.
No, and again, most of the Marvel Omnis this month were like last month, reprints. Boy, I saved a lot of money last month by not having any new Omnis.
Yeah.
But then that means that sometime next year, they'll be, I haven't got a new omnibus in weeks.
Oh, me? I'm going for some of them limited signed press, hardcover, autographed editions. And the Astro City.
And as we say every week, the comic we like the least, we still like better than the comic that you like the most. Joe?
Don't buy plastic skeletons for Halloween. It's terrible. Terrible for the environment. Locally sourced, all-natural skeletons are more environmentally friendly. Your PSA for today. Cory, hit my music.